I'm legally insane. And Limited Run Games is currently trying to bankrupt me. And you. They're trying to bankrupt you as well. And there's nothing we can do to stop them. So let's find out why and how this is happening. Call up your lawyer. Tell the wife. Tell the kids. You got to sell the house. Sell the car. You're going to be homeless. So for those that don't know, Limited Run Games did a huge announcement. They had like a 30-minute video come out where they're releasing a whole bunch of new games. But of the giant list of games, like 30 games that are coming out, they've started revealing a good portion of those are old retro games that are being re-released on modern consoles. Nintendo Switch, PS4, PS5, Xbox, they're releasing them on all of these old consoles. And they're able to do that thanks to this new technology that's not super new. It's been around for a while, but it's starting to pick up in popularity and in its capabilities. It's called the Carbon Engine. And all it is software that is able to take old games and put them on new consoles very easily. And like 100% accurate ports. It's just emulation, but it's accurate ports, but it can go above and beyond that. It also allows the developers to add new content, like they can change the music. Very simple additions. They can change the music. They can add extras like art galleries, music galleries, trophies, and they are adding extras. Okay, so amongst the games that they announced, for example, the Jurassic Park collection. For some stupid reason, it doesn't have Sega Genesis on there, but it's got the NES games, the Game Boy games, and the Super Nintendo games. All on one collection, and they are adding content. Now, I don't think they announced that in the trailer, but RGT85 did an interview with one of the main Carbon Engine creators / developers. And yeah, he revealed they are adding extras. It's no secret that the software is able to do that. Probably there's going to be save states. They always add that in. So they got the Jurassic Park collection coming out. They've got a Gex trilogy coming out. We're talking Gex 1, 2, and 3. I don't know if that's going to be N64 or PS1. Probably PS. Oh, no. It will be PS1. And I'll get to that later. Yeah, this is the PS1 collection. They've got a Clock Tower game coming out. This was previously a Japan-only release. And that's coming out in English. Freaking Clock Tower for the Super Nintendo, not the PlayStation Clock Tower. This is the Super Nintendo version. That's going to be a monster hit. Clock Tower is very famous amongst the retro gaming community. And us here in the West, we would have loved to have that game. So that one's coming out. They got Tomba. I say Tomba. Some people call it Tomba. That's coming out with a new soundtrack, by the way. And what that also tells us is that if there's rights to the soundtracks, because I'm assuming that means they had some sort of legal issue in using the old soundtrack. So they've gotten rid of that problem. So that means that any old game that they want to bring out in the future that does have licensing issues with soundtracks and music, they can and they are willing to get around that by creating a whole new soundtrack. I mean, that's pretty simple to do that in the grand scheme of things, right? You're not creating a whole new game. You're still just porting a game over. Hire a composer, done. It's not hard. They're going to make millions of dollars regardless, okay? You're going to make money. So there's a couple of things that you need to know about the Carbon Engine, and you're not going to find them on the website here. There's a couple of things that aren't mentioned here that you would only know about if you listen to the exclusive interview that our GT85 did. Before we get to that, let's look at what the Carbon Engine Q&A says. So it currently supports NES, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, Game Gear, Sega Master System, Sega frickin' CD, and the Sony frickin' PlayStation. Now, the first game that they ever released using this engine was Shantae for the Game Boy Color, which I'll talk more about later. So here's what you really need to know. They didn't start this engine having all of these console capabilities, having the ability to emulate and port all these games. They started with just Game Boy Color, and they've been slowly adding more consoles. So, you know, your average Joe would come to this website and say, oh, okay, it's, you know, there's not going to be any other consoles. You know, I guess we'll never see a GameCube game. Guess we'll never see a Sega frickin' Dreamcast game. We'll never see Sega Saturn. No, you will see all of those consoles, especially Sega Saturn. They've already announced that they would like to do Sega Saturn and that they're waiting to make a deal and, you know, have a publisher approach them and say, hey, we want to put a Sega Saturn game out. Can you do it? Can you do this game? They're waiting for that to happen. So you will eventually get Sega Dreamcast, Sega Saturn, and who knows what else. Sky is the limit. There's no reason you can't get a GameCube game on there either. And the other really important thing to mention is that it was also revealed that they are working very closely with Sunsoft, one of the OG and best game developers of all time, and they still make games to this very day. Sunsoft has many years ago, actually, they said that they are looking to find ways to make money on their IPs. They posted on their Twitter looking for fan feedback on what games they should remake. Like, they are really trying to make money. They've got a new game coming out for the Evercade, Sunsoft does. It's called the Evercade Sunsoft Collection number 1. You know they're going to come out with a number 2, a number 3, a number 4, a number 5. So Sunsoft has basically, they're working closely with these guys. They're trying to get all their games over. They're looking into IPs. They want to bring everything over. So they're working with Sunsoft. We know that they're working with Disney because Disney's bringing over the remastered Gargoyles game. So you got top dogs like Disney and Sunsoft working with them. They might even be working with Konami because I know that new Konami collection is coming over with all the Castlevania Game Boy Advance games. So they're probably working with Konami. They're working with WayForward. Who else do you think is going to start working with these guys? It's only a matter of time before companies like Capcom come knocking. So future games coming down the works. I can guarantee you Zero, the Kamikaze Squirrel. I made a list of Sunsoft games that I bet we'll find on this console. All right, let's pull up the list here. Future games coming. Not anytime soon, by the way. These aren't going to happen overnight. We got Chameleon Twist 1 and 2, N64, when they get the N64 engine to work. Monster Seed PS1. Oh yeah, and by the way, this is a list of Sunsoft games that they either published or developed, and or both, and or did both. So I don't know if there's rights issues, like who owns what versus publisher versus developer. Probably, maybe the publisher has the full rights. I don't know. But anyways, these are games that Sunsoft worked on either as a publisher or as a developer. One of the freaking two, all right? And some of them it may have, it was only in certain regions, like Eternal Eyes. They worked on that for worldwide release, but they published it for that, but some other company did the North American release, okay? So we got Monster Seed, we got Monkey Magic for the PlayStation 1. That's an action RPG platformer. That's for sure coming. You know it's coming. These rare, oddball games, expensive games, they're all coming over. All of them. And they're all going to get a brand new set of eyes, a brand new audience, much larger audience. There's way more gamers out there today than there was back in 1997, okay? Way more. Gaming is completely mainstream. Gaming has replaced, is bigger than the movie industry. So you know these are coming. Arrow the Acrobat 1 and 2, they can put that on a collection disc. Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, throw them all on there. Every version, yeah, every version there is. Blaster Master, there's still a lot of they could compile every Blaster Master game that they made for the NES, Game Boy, and Sega Genesis. They could put all the hell PlayStation 1. They have a hidden gem Blaster Master for the PlayStation 1. The Albert Odyssey series, maybe they can translate some of the Japan only versions. They got a Sega Saturn Albert Odyssey game. They got Quest Brian's Journey. It's a RPG, little known hidden gem for the Game Boy Color. They could bring that over. It's not going to cost you anything. You make $1 million. It's so easy. You know what's going to happen. But once they start getting companies like Capcom to start handing over some of their IPs, then you get into some real magic. You get into some PlayStation 1 games, Misadventures of Tron Bonne. You get into Mega Man Legends 1 and 2, PlayStation 1. Mega Man frickin' Legends. Capcom isn't doing anything with that. I'm not saying that they'll actually release the rights. They might not. But if they do, it's a license to print money. You put Capcom or Mega Man Legends collection. Hell, throw all of them on there. Throw in Mega Man Legends for the N64. Throw that one in there. You could get Dino Crisis 1 and 2. You could get Herc's Adventure. That's a hidden gem. Very expensive game. A lot of these games aren't cheap. Cost you hundreds of dollars to get some of these. CIB. Alundra. Dino Crisis 1 and 2. Vandal Hearts was a great tactical RPG. Vandal Hearts 1 and 2. You throw those on a compilation disc. Army Men, the entire Army Men series, you got endless possibilities. And you know they're coming. Over the next 10 years, there will be a flurry of games coming out. And friggin' Disney's remastering Gargoyles. I'm assuming that's the Sega Genesis version. Because that's the only one that I know exists. I'm pretty sure it's the only one. They made a mobile game. Nobody played the mobile game. They're not remastering the mobile game. So you know it's the Sega Genesis version. And the Sega Genesis version is a very good version. Very, very good. Very, very difficult. But it's beatable. Okay? How about Jumping Flash? PlayStation 1, number 1 and 2? How about that? Holy hell, there's Team Buddies? Team Buddies is a hidden gem 4-player game. Bring that over to the Nintendo Switch. Now it's so much easier to play. So people like me, I own Team Buddies, for example. PlayStation 1. But if you port it over to the Switch, I'm going to buy it just because it's easier. Okay, you don't have to bust. If I rebought all these games, they release 100 new games. I buy them all, which I am. That's why I'm bankrupt. I buy them all. It just makes my life easier. One, you've added new content, and because it's on the Switch, I don't have to fiddle with 20 different consoles at the same time. So people are going to be buying these. And they know they're going to be buying them. The retro game community is huge. Retro game collecting is huge. People are going to double dip. And now for the final question. I know what you're asking. You're saying, well, is this going to lower the value of the already existing games? That, Clock Tower, Tomba, for example. Is this going to lower the value? And it might a little bit, but I don't think it will too much, if at all. And I'll use the example of Shantae. Shantae was re-released for the Nintendo Switch, and they went one further. They re-released that original Game Boy Color cart. And have you looked at the price of Shantae? Because it's still very expensive. The price came down a little bit, but in the longer term chart, I guarantee you the price is just going to keep going up. Because one could argue it came down a little bit. Well, has it really come down a little bit? Because nothing goes straight up, you retard. Have you looked at any stock chart and any video game chart ever? They don't go straight up. They do this. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. But guess what? You got to look at the longer picture. What's the trend? The trend is up. Okay, as long as you zoom out, you look at the bigger picture. What's Shantae been doing? Shantae's still going up. Shantae is like what a CIB copy recently sold for like over $1,000 freaking dollars, Canadian dollars. Okay, I don't know what that is in U.S. currency. Okay, I don't know what it is in British pounds. You're gonna have to convert, do the freaking math, look it up yourself. But yeah, North American version recently sold for like $1,000, over 1,000 Canadian dollars. So it's still sought after. People want the originals. There's something magical about those originals. There's something magical about playing Mega Man Legends on a Sony PlayStation with a Sony PlayStation controller. No version will ever be able to replace that. But that doesn't mean that somebody like me isn't going to buy a copy of Zero the Kamikaze Squirrel. Because guess what? I don't own it. I need to buy over 9,000 games, and I don't have the $600 or more to go and buy the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis version. So I will happily pick up the alternative, being the Nintendo Switch version. I will happily do that. And guess what? In the future, if I do happen to get rich, filthy rich, and I can afford to buy all 9,000 games that I want, I will still go buy the Super Nintendo version, because that Switch version will never replace the magic. But I still want physical. I don't want to emulate. I'm not going to emulate this game on a freaking computer. It's not going to do it for me. I want physical. It's got to be physical on a physical freaking hardware with a physical freaking console with a physical freaking original controller from whatever console that is. Doesn't matter. So that's what's going on with limited run games. They're trying to bankrupt us. And they know it's going to work. They know we're going to buy these games. And yeah, maybe not all of them. I'm not going to buy every single game that they release. If they release some garbage out there, I'm not going to buy it. But I'm going to buy a good portion of them. Especially if they're good ones. Like if you release some Atari games, I'm not going to care. You release some garbage games, I'm not going to care. But you release some good ones? Oh yeah, I'm buying. Even if I own it. Herc's Adventure, I already own it. It's a 3-player game. Herc's Adventure is like a medieval Zombies Ate My Neighbor. In fact, it's unofficially part of that trilogy. There's some history there. I think it's made by the same team. The same guys, like individuals that made Zombies Ate My Neighbors. I forget the exact history on that. It's a complicated one. But yeah, it's basically an unofficial sequel. And yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 3-player. I know it's 2-player because I played it on 2-player. Friggin' gem. Yeah, if they release that, I don't even care. I'm going to buy it. And they know I'm going to buy it. So I'm selling the house. I'm selling my car. It won't be long now. I'm going to be living on the streets. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. I am legally insane, and I'm trying to collect over 9,000 retro video games and Nintendo Switch on my way to getting over 9,000 subscribers. And I'm trying to do that before they put me in jail too, by the way. So it's a ticking time bomb out there.